Hello, hello, hello. Great to see such a packed audience. Hello. So, we don't need another conference to tell us that we need to operate within Earth's ecological limits. And en masse, I think we can all agree that we need to do things a little bit differently, don't we? But saying one thing in corporate communications and then actually embedding that is a completely different thing. So today we're going to look at strategies, we're going to look at regenerative practices, some scalable solutions to discuss how business can lead the way in driving the ecological transition, whilst also, very importantly, talking about how we can also foster social good. And who am I? Well, I'm Joss, and I'm going to be your moderator for the next hour and a half. I run a communications agency called Enviro, and we're on a mission to save the world from boring sustainability stories. We believe there's an epidemic of global yawning, and for true, genuine business transformation, we know that engaging storytelling, creativity, and doing things differently is at the heart of true transformation. So hopefully we're going to explore some routes, some stories, some blueprints, some strategies today in how we can operate with business unusual approaches to business and within planetary boundaries. My first panel is absolutely brilliant. We've got some amazing guests. So please welcome to the stage Elizabeth, the Executive Vice President of Group CSR at Orange, Adrian, the Chief Sustainability Officer at Bank Postel, and Sandrine, the Chief Sustainability Officer at Moët Hennessy. Welcome to the stage, everyone. Hello, hello. Guys, welcome, hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hi.
Okay,
Fine.
so let's do, should we do a quick round of introductions, sharing what you're responsible for? And I'm really interested, what one thing have you been inspired by so far at Change Now? Should we start with you?
Sure. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Adrienne Aurel-Pages. I'm Chief Sustainability Officer at La Bank Postel. I'm in charge of actually defining and monitoring the sustainable finance strategy. La Bank Postel is actually a financial services group diversified in banking, insurance, but also asset management, private banking. And obviously, we operate our financial services through the post offices everywhere in France, but also our insurance business in Brazil and Italy.
Brilliant.
Hello everyone, I'm Sandrin Summer. I'm Chief Sustainability Officer at Moët Moët is a wine and spirit branch of LVMH. So we are producing champagne, cognac, sparkling wine or still wine. And we have a dedicated sustainability program called Living Soil, Living Together. So we have one of our priorities about soil, but we will speak later about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. And what have you been inspired by at Change Now so far?
In fact, I'm really inspired by you, by the people, the great place, the positive energy, the diversity of the people. So I'm very happy to be here. We have hope here, and we all need hope.
Yep, love it. Elizabeth.
Hi everyone, glad to be here. I'm Elizabeth Chungi. I'm Executive Vice President in charge of CSR at Orange. So Orange basically connect the world. We are present in 26 countries in B2C and more than 100 in B2B. And I'm in charge of deploying our CSR strategy, of course, net zero carbon, digital inclusion, digital trust. And I'm very happy to be here because the message here is very strong. We live in a very complex geopolitical situation, and the message here is very clear. We won't give up on sustainable development. We are here together to say we won't give up, and Orange is here for that message.
Love it. Well, thank you. And you've got the best jacket I've seen today, so well done.
Directly coming from Cameroon.
So as I mentioned in the opener, having a solid climate and nature strategy and communicating it is one thing, but actually embedding it is a completely different story, isn't it? So I'm wanting to understand what are the main breakthroughs in transforming your businesses. What's been successful? What's worked and why has it worked? And also what have been the challenges? Let's start with the breakthroughs and the success stories, because it's all about optimism and hope. And then we'll talk about maybe the roadblocks afterwards. Should we start with La Bank Postel?
Sure. Actually, the journey, the sustainability journey for a bank is actually going from a world in 2 dimensions. You know, bankers, when they make investment decisions, they talk about risk and return. And the idea is actually going into a world in 3 dimensions, where you talk about risk, return, and ESG impact. So it's a little bit like the first time, you know, you see a 3D movie. So, you know, you get those weird glasses, maybe you were a bit sick. But at the end of the day, you're like, okay, why am I still looking at 2D movie? I always want to see 3D movies. So that's a little bit like that, these sustainability journeys. And maybe I will talk about 3 main successes, or actually 3 things that we've done. The first thing is governance. It's really important to have your governance align on your objectives, and we are a mission-led company, and this status is very powerful for us because it helps us to really align our top objectives in the status of the company to all the objectives of all the employees. So governance is key. The second thing that is very important is risk-taking. We have made some pioneer decisions. We have taken some risk. For example, we have published our first TNFD report, so with a footprint on biodiversity. So, okay, the methodologies, and probably you will talk about that, are not all completely finalized, but we have taken the risk of publishing this first footprint. And the third one is actually innovation. Through sustainability, you get to innovate, you get to get new products in order to answer the needs of your clients. And in particular, we have an impact credit loans, an impact mortgage, where we help our clients to retrofit the buildings that they ask us to finance. And we have seen an increase from 1% of our mortgages with retrofitting loans to 13% since the launch of that product.
Oh, brilliant. Tell me, how are things at Moët Hennessy? Tell me what's working.
In fact, in terms of success stories, I would say really the implication of our team, you know, and for a long time. We can already live the climate change, honestly, in our activity. You know, when you are mentioning wine and spirit, we are directly connected to the nature. We are working with the nature and from the beginning. So we have already been impacted by the climate change. So we have been working for a long time to adapt our activity. You know, and what does it mean? It means we have reduced drastically our environmental impact. And for example, we have certified all our vineyards in the local certification. We have decided to ban herbicide, for example. So we have been already working, and we have already some good results. The thing is, we have to accelerate, and we have decided to switch to regenerative agriculture. What does it mean concretely? It means we have decided to nurture soils. For us, to really remind that the beginning of everything is very important, and the soil is the beginning of everything. It's the beginning of our product, for sure, but it's the beginning of our food and of a lot of assets. So we have decided to regenerate soils and to place soils as the most important ecosystem, and we really want to make soils more visible, you know, and for every people, ocean, forest, biodiversity, it's like an evidence, but soils not enough. So it's our mission, you know, to regenerate soils for our products, but more to be sure to involve everybody in this precious ecosystem. So in terms of key success, in our vineyard, we have already implemented new practices like cover cropping, so meaning planting some different species between 2 rows of vineyard to ban herbicide, as I mentioned, and to go towards, for example, agroforestry. So we have already some success, for sure. And we have one key challenge is to involve our partners, our farmers, our wine growers to go in the same direction. So it's really important for us to involve all the stakeholders within this issue.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that in a second, because I know you're doing some very interesting initiatives to collectively involve people. Tell us, how's everything at Orange?
So Adrienne is absolutely right. First step is governance. Not many companies have an executive CSR vice president reporting so directly to the CEO. And that's very important in terms of governance, because sometimes, I can play the bad girl. I mean, every strategic decision discussed at ExCom level, sometimes I say, okay, but what about CSR? What are the trades, etc. One example, France decides to sell TV in shops. Very bad for scope 3. But I'm not only the bad girl, I'm the one that say, okay, I understand, it's business, but trade-off. What efforts can we make in France to compensate the fact that we decide to sell TV? So very important. Embedding sustainability in the strategy of the company is absolutely essential. And I'll give you really one example. And my favorite one is really Orange Middle East Africa, because our work in Africa proves that we can really redefine our business models for more sustainability. Orange Middle East Africa, it's clearly our growth engine today. We published our first quarter results yesterday, 12.8% growth in very complex field of operations, let's say, because it's a resilient model. Why? So, always a holistic vision. When we deploy, for instance, new sites on rural areas, we bring connectivity, but we solarize our sites. We have like 2,000 sites with solar panels throughout the 18 countries where we operate. So when you bring connectivity, when we bring electricity, we also provide a service called Orange Energy, where we provide to the consumers in the villages a system of solar panels with a pay-as-you-go system, because otherwise it's too expensive, thanks to our mobile money solution. So this generates new incomes, new activities for the rural people. And so it's this holistic vision. We solarize, so new source of renewable energies for the continent, and we bring growth thanks to the opportunities related to the digital. The main challenge, of course, is our scope 3 in Africa, because the more we deploy new sites, the more we have to buy equipment. So not good for the scope 3. So that's why, as Sandrine said, a key challenge is how we engage our supply chain, our suppliers.
And Tammy, like, you've mentioned a few challenges in there, but what are the elephants in the room that we're not talking about right now? You know, I'm interested to know. Everything that we feel and hear at this conference is very positive, but to operate within ecological, planetary boundaries, it's tricky. Tell me, what are things like specifically in the finance space?
Yeah, I think the big elephant in the room is really saying that you cannot do everything. And actually, there are things that you will stop financing. There are some activities that you will stop investing. And that's really, what is important to say. The job of a banker is actually to protect its balance sheet and also to allocate its resources. So it's not about renouncing. It's not like, okay, for example, like 3 years ago, we decided to stop financing the oil and gas industry with actors that are not aligned with the Paris Agreement.
Yeah.
This is not a question of not financing. This is a question of what actually we finance instead of that. Because when you finance, you use people resources, you use your capital. So this is just another allocation of your resources. And that's really the job of a banker, is to protect your balance sheet over the long term. So we don't want to have in our balance sheet what we call stranded assets. What are stranded assets? Stranded stranded assets are assets that in the future we will not have any financial values because people will not use oil anymore, or for example there will be an apartment in Paris with like 50 degrees and like people will not be able to live in it or to rent it. So that's stranded assets. And our job on the sustainable finance is really to take that long-term objectives and put it in the short term and make that decision now, change actually now, and in order to protect over the long term. And I think that's the most difficult aspect in that.
Morally, that's a great hypothesis, but there must be people within your organization who maybe aren't interested in the long-term vision. And how do you convince them?
Yeah, it's not really a question of moral. It's also really a question of being fact-based. What scientific say us that actually, it's now that we need to stop the exploring a new oil and gas industry if we want to live just and to continue protecting our business, to continue being resilient. But I think the key issue in order to help people change, and I agree with you, what is the most difficult is to get people on board, is to show them other opportunities. So that's why it's important to build them new tools, to show them also new industry to finance in order to get this, third dimension lightened and to show that there is something else and a new model to construct.
And what are those industries for anybody in the finance world? What's the place to invest in right now?
Circular economy, for example. Obviously regenerative agriculture. But what is important for a banker is really, alongside its tool for risk and return, the importance of having data, ESG data, in order to understand what is the impact on governance, social, and environment, and then make its decision based on these three elements. Maybe sometime return will be more important. Maybe sometime ESG will be more important. For now, we have a third of our financing that are ESG compliant. So we still have a long way to go, but it's actually decision after decision that we're making that change.
Yeah, and I can imagine there's a cultural shift in that journey as well, which is great. So as you mentioned, your products are literally under threat because of climate change. Tell me, was it like almost in the vineyards? What are you actually doing on the ground to protect yourselves on the long term?
Yeah, I think something is really important for me maybe to mention, you mentioned elephant in the room. I think we have absolutely to change the narrative of the sustainability, because sustainability is crucial. As I mentioned, it's a necessity to ensure a resilient business. So for sure, it's very important, to connect sustainability within the strategy, within the performance of the business with the long term, but sometimes in the very short term as well. So we have absolutely to change the narrative of sustainability and really make a link between sustainability and desirability, for sure. And particularly when you mentioned the luxury area. So it's really important to link sustainability and desirability and link with the value creation. So I think it's really, really important to always remind that we are doing that because it's crucial. It's again, the resilience of the business. Otherwise, we will lose some business, definitely. So
is that just internally? Because I guess when you might be drinking a glass of very premium champagne, you might not necessarily be thinking about regenerative agriculture. Do your customers care, or is that just internally?
This is exactly what I mentioned. When I mentioned the narrative, we have to explain to our customer as well that when they are tasting a delicious champagne or cognac or sparkling wine, in fact, they are tasting a product which is coming from soils with some people, with some farmers who are really engaged to do the good thing. So I think we have to explain everything. We have to explain what does it mean a regenerative product, you know, so I think it's important. So even in the narrative, you know, and we have a lot of acronym in our sustainable world. So I think it's our job as well to simplify everything in order to better understand for everybody, internally and externally, in order to be sure everybody understand what does it mean. So this is the first thing. And the second thing I would like to really insist is even if the business is tense, and it's exactly the case right now, even if the geopolitical context is difficult and so on, we have always remind that the cost of the non-action will be much more important than to invest right now. So I think it's always important to remind that as well.
And you told me about a couple of initiatives when you talk about training and development, specifically around soil and a conference that you're looking at, that kind of collaboration, not competition approach to getting your industry to shift. Tell me about some of that training.
Yeah, in fact, as I mentioned, you know, we really place soils and the living soils in the heart of our priority. So we have to explain again what does it mean, and we have decided internally to create a new training called the Living Soils Workshop. It's like the climate fresque, but dedicated to the soil in order to explain what does it mean. And we have co-created this the Living Soil Workshop with a lot of people and with our competitor as well, you know, to be sure that we can implement this type of training. And now it's open for everyone. It's not only for Moët, it's open for everyone. This is the first thing. And the second thing, you mentioned competitors, very important to work with them. You know, soil is a common good. So for sure, it's not our asset, so our own asset. So we have to work with our competitor, and more widely, we have to work with all stakeholders concerning and impacted with the soil. So it means a lot of stakeholders.
And Elizabeth, you mentioned that you operate in lots of different locations, very complex organization. How do you set goals, and how do you stick to those goals, and how do you spot when you might need to realign those goals and communicate to different stakeholders?
We have goals, so speaking about on carbon, but also on digital inclusion, we have a clear path. So carbon, being net zero carbon in 2040. So it's a trajectory validated by SBTi. And so basically, every division, France, Europe, Orange, Middle East, and Africa, and then every country has now his trajectory of decrease by 2030. We have to be to do minus 45% all scopes in 2030. So it's completely embedded in the budget processes, in the trajectory. We're building now our new strategic plan 2030, and to embed all this, we have incentives for CEOs to deliver the carbon trajectory. So we really today monitor our carbon trajectory just as our financial trajectory. It is the same for digital inclusion. We aim to train freely 6 million persons in every countries where we operate to develop their digital skills. And those figures are monitored, they are audited, because we published our CSR first the sustainable reports for the CSRD this year, and all those figures are audited. So it is, yes, completely embedded in our day-to-day business, let's say. So now you were speaking about elephants in the rooms. I see two elephants in the rooms, actually. The first one is, for every company, the permanent struggle between short-term and long-term. You know, the guy who has his P&L, if you say to him, okay, buy to this supplier because he's more virtuous regarding sustainability, but he's more expensive. The guy who's in charge of the P&L will say, sorry, Elizabeth, I like you, but no. So, but as I'm very optimistic. Sometimes the long-term wins. I give you one example. At Orange, we have a fleet of ships, Orange Marine, business units, deploying submarine cables, repairing those submarine cables, and a few years ago we had to replace one of our ships. So we have two options. Refurbish one. It was less expensive short term, but not long term. Or build a new one with batteries, with less carbon impact. Of course, it was more expensive building a new one, but long term, the energy consumption was decreased, so it was a good opportunity at long term, and we decided to go for a new one. So that's an example of how sometimes long-term strategy wins.
And
the second elephant in the room.
We have 38 seconds. So you're going to have to go whistle stop through.
Fast. AI, of course. AI, Gen AI. Of course, the carbon footprint of AI is huge. So we really have to balance and find the best solution to minimize the impact of AI. And because, yes, otherwise it will be terrible. But AI can also help decarbonization. So it's a whole perpetual balance.
Balancing act. Okay, we're going to run over by 40 seconds, but you're going to have 20 seconds each. That's not 40 seconds. But please, can you leave the audience with one tip or resource that they can take into their business next week to help with their transformation?
Maybe be curious and really talk to your whole ecosystem, your suppliers, your clients, of course, but also your competitors, policymakers. You were talking about customers, so it's very important also that policymakers foster demand. So this is all those points of view that you need to gather in order to transform your businesses.
Okay, one tip or resource.
I would say never give up. In fact, I think it's the right mindset, and stay positive, stay convinced, and involve more people around you. I think it's very, very important. And do not forget, soil is the beginning of everything.
And sign up to the Living Soils workshop if you're in the food and drink space. Final question.
We're on the same boat. We cannot succeed alone. So engaging the suppliers is key. We are very thrilled to announce a partnership with Camusa, one of supplier on infrastructures. We built together plans of progress to follow the path of our own trajectory towards decarbonization, and that's how we will succeed all together.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Great to get a little perspective into such big organizations, and thanks for your openness.
Thank you.
Round of applause. Brilliant. So great to get a perspective into such interesting organizations. And now we've got two leaders who have got so much experience in leading complex transformation strategies. As someone who runs a B Corp, and I'm a big advocate for B Corp, as well as my wife and my mother-in-law definitely accounting for at least half of sales from CLARINS last year. I'm super excited to be hosting this panel. So please welcome to the stage Virginie, the Managing Director of CLARINS, and Sarah, the co-lead executive of BLab, who's responsible for B Corp. Hi. Good to see you. Hi. Hi all. Hi. So, tell us, what are you responsible for at B Corp and at CLARINS, and share one thing that you have been inspired by from Change Now so far.
Sure, great. It's great to be here. My name is Sarah Schwimmer. I'm the co-lead executive at BLab Global. This is my first time at Change Now. It's been an incredible experience. You can probably hear from the way I speak that I am American. It is really, really amazing to be here. And the thing that I'm really kind of sitting with right now is that there's so much discussion yesterday, today, around change, but around agency and choice. And I think it's really important that we remember that we have choices. So B Lab and the B Corp certification recognize that the current economic system, as it stands, is the result of choices made by probably folks not in this room. And those choices benefit a select few. And we have a choice to build a different way of doing business, which I think we'll get into in a minute.
We definitely will.
So hello, I'm Virginie Courtin, Managing Director of the Group CLARINS, and since yesterday, officially a B Corp. So we are very proud to join this community. Well, so for us at CLARINS, it's our 8th year here in Change Now, because we've been at Change Now since the beginning, and I'm always amazed to see year and year how they grow, and to see so many leaders and game changers. We were discussing with Sarah just before how positive it is to be here, because you meet people that are actually coming with solution, and effective and scalable solution, and a positive message. So it's very encouraging to be here.
Well, brilliant. Well, let's talk about your B Corp certification. How did CLARINS arrive at B Corp, and how has the B Impact Assessment shaped your approach to planet and purpose? I guess since you've been on that road to certification.
Yes. So the first time I heard about B Corp was maybe 6 years ago. And you know, I went online and do my research, and I saw that they were talking about, you know, gathering companies that are not the best companies in the world, but the best companies for the world. So it clicked, and you know, with my team, we decided that it felt natural to go in that path, because it was everything what CLARINS was about. You know, at CLARINS, we were committed since day one. It was not because it's a marketing thing now, or it's because it's trendy to talk about CSR and commitment. It's really because it was a way of working. You know, all our products are made out of plants, so it comes from nature. So we owe to nature, we owe to the children for the future. So it felt natural for us to go in the B Corp journey. So we officially started 3 years ago. It's a lot of work, especially when you are a big company, because we had to have 32 entities assessed. It took maybe 250 people at CLARINS working on making sure that we are doing the right thing, because at the end of the day, when you are starting the B Corp journey, you have to really question yourself to see are you really doing the right thing? Because you think you are doing the right thing, but now you have to give proof. You have to really question yourself. So during the last 3 years that we started this journey, we have made so much progress already, and I was always telling my team that what was important was, at the end, of course, we wanted the certification, but it was only a tool for us to go in that journey, to be able to show what we do, and to make sure that we were always choosing the best compromise for the planet and for the people, at the same time growing the business. So that's why it's a lot of work, and we are very proud now to have reached it 3 years later. But yeah, we have made so much progress, and it's only the beginning.
Yeah, I think that using that terminology, it's a tool rather than just a stamp at the end, is such an important thing. Sarah, lots of changes at B Corp. On one side, you know, you've got this certification, which has achieved, I think, a very rare thing. You've got companies all around the world, consumers, employees, investors, who all recognize the power of this standard. Yet on the other side, I think it would be right to say that you've had a bit of a hard time at B Corp, in the B Corp camp, as we've felt these wider ESG headwinds. Has this led to the evolution of B Corp's new standards? And I guess, yeah, how has that been announced, and how has the progress been?
Yeah, thank you. So are most folks in here familiar with B Corps? You obviously now know one on stage.
Okay, can you explain what B Corp is?
Yes. So
who is a B Corp in here?
Can we get a show of hands?
Okay, we've got a few B Corps. Who understands generally the concept of B Corp?
You have a lot of CLARINS people.
Okay. Who's done the B impact assessment? Okay, great. And explain B Corp.
Great, thank you. So welcome. Welcome to this movement. This is truly a movement. So the B Corp certification is a really robust, rigorous certification for businesses. It looks across the whole health of the business. So we're focused on environmental, social, and governance performance. We have metrics. This is a global standard, which also makes it really unique. It is applicable, and in fact, in this, as of today, there are B Corps in over 100 countries around the world. There are nearly 10,000 B Corps now, and I should say that's doubled in size just in the last few years, so the momentum is really exciting. I'll get to the headwinds, though, in a minute. And B Corps represent and employ about 1 million people around the world. So this is a movement. This is business as a force for good. This is in recognition of what I was just saying, that the way that business is done is based on choices. We are individuals. There are business leaders who make choices. Virginie here is part of this movement, and she and her colleagues have made a choice in how they want to run their business. And so, yes, there has been, I think, whenever a movement is really gaining a lot of traction, there is bound to be pushback. And that is what I think we've been seeing over the last few years. It's not just B Corp certification and the work that B Lab does. I should say B Lab is the nonprofit focused on economic systems change, so really understanding that business is part of the problem and also must be part of the solution. And so we're focused on looking at the behaviors of businesses that can model a different way forward.
And so, what are the new standards? Tell us.
So the new standards, we just launched them just a couple weeks ago now. Go check them out online. They're extensive. They're rigorous. This is our 7th version of these new standards. These are not in response to the headwinds that you mentioned, and very briefly, those headwinds I would call, where I'm from, certainly there are cultural and social pressures to pull back or to change the way that you are operating as a business. Of course, we also see increasing reporting and regulatory pressures as well. These standards have been in development for 4 or 5 years. This is a massive undertaking and a really transformational way of understanding what good business looks like. So it's really, really exciting. I want to be really clear, every B Corp must meet each of these 7 impact topics, and these impact topics range from climate action to human rights to fair work. Again, check that out online. These standards, though, provide a framework for all of us as business leaders, as consumers, as investors, to understand what good business looks like. Not every company can become a B Corp. It is hard, as you were sharing, and it is intentionally so. We will be growing the number of B Corps in this movement, but all of us as business leaders, as consumers, as investors, can make choices, and I would encourage us to use this new standard as a framework, as a roadmap for what good business looks like.
And as these standards have been developed over a long time period, we've known that new standards have been coming for at least a year now. Have you, in your certification process at CLARINS, taken into those changes, those focus areas in getting your first certification?
Well, we are very new to the community, as I said. But you know, what I think is interesting with B Corp is that it's a certification that is in constant improvement. So that's why they are in their version number 7 today. And you know, it's also what makes it different is that, you know, now as a company, we are not going to say, okay, we are B Corp, the way we do things is good, and we just continue to do so. It's about continuous improvement, about always questioning ourselves. Yeah. And at the end of the day, if you think about sustainability, it's all what it's about, you know? It's all about finding new ways of doing things, of doing business. So that's why, and I think it's very virtuous that B Corp is always challenging us. It's because we have to challenge ourselves. And you know, at CLARINS, we like the challenges and we like to invent new things, new way of doing business, but at the same time be sustainable. So maybe I would like to give just an example. It's, you know, so as I said, everything comes from our ingredients, the plants. So we decided 8 years ago that we wanted to become farmers. farmers because we wanted to actually use regenerative agriculture to grow our plants. When we started 8 years ago, we started with a small land in the French Alps, and we didn't know if we were going to succeed, if we were going to be able to produce some plants to incorporate in our product. Now, last year, we took this commitment higher because we acquired a second domain where we grow our own plants with the goal of having 1/3 of our plants in our products coming from the domain with regenerative agriculture. And honestly, it was kind of a crazy bet because no one in the cosmetic industry is doing so. No one is using real regenerative agriculture, growing their own plant at this scale. And we wanted to prove now that it's possible, that we can offer not only the best ingredient for our clients that are the most effective, but also the best ingredient for the planet. So that's why also we just got the ROC certification, which is also, it means regenerative organic certified. And we were, again, the first one in the cosmetic industry to do so. But we are also working with all our suppliers to give them some tips to, to teach them how they can, do that in their own fields, because we believe really into sharing with our suppliers, and leading by example is a good way.
I think the takeaway there is harmonizing lots of different areas within the business, or all areas of the business. And it sounds like you had so many people as part of the certification that's one of the kind of key takeaways to get that certification from the get-go. So I believe friendly fire is the worst thing the sustainability community can do. And what does that mean? That's basically the sustainability community calling out the rest of the sustainability community for perfection, not progress. We've seen this in the B Corp world recently. And I guess, how do you internally look at that and manage that when perhaps there's a few B Corps who don't like that certain big B Corps are part of the certification, or their fee, for example, is large for certain big businesses? Yeah, how are you managing that, looking at it?
Yeah, so absolutely. That's always going to be, I think, a tension, and I would actually say it's intentionally so. Again, this is a movement, and so we are a bunch of individuals who have a lot of strong feelings, and we don't always agree. The standards, as I have said, are really rigorous, and we're really proud of those standards. The standards are a tool for us to really be leveraging the power of business and leaders to take different actions. And so in order for this community to be effective, to be valid, to be able to prove this concept that a different way of business is possible, the community needs to be diverse. It needs to be representative of all different sizes of businesses, of a variety of industries from all over the world, different sorts of people leading these businesses. So we, as I mentioned, we're about to hit 10,000 B Corps, which is a huge moment for us, big momentum. We are now entering this phase where we are really looking at, great, we've proven that a different way of business is possible, where you can pay attention to your stakeholders and not just your shareholders. Now what? So the now what is that we need to be looking at how do we scale, not just the B Corp certification, the innovation of this, but scale this to other businesses. And if we are going to be able to scale that, we need to go in community, and that community needs to be one that is diverse and that includes large businesses. So it's about the direct impacts that large businesses can take, and it's also about proving, and I would say removing the excuse for other businesses to say, no, this is too hard, we couldn't do this. Well, actually, you might be able to do it. You need to make a choice to do the hard thing, take a look at your businesses, and behave differently. So I very much respect that there's the friendly fire, as you call it, is coming from a place of care and passion and deep dedication to this shared vision that we have. And at the same time, any B Corp that has the B Corp certification has had to meet really rigorous standards, and even more so in some cases for large businesses.
I think that's a great answer, and really appreciate that. I'm a big advocate for B Corp, and I'm a big advocate for the biggest businesses in the world to use the tool, even if they don't become certified, just use the tool and do something rather than use it as an excuse mechanism. I've always been interested in the collaboration, not competition mindset that B Corps have. So it is interesting where you maybe have less than 0.01% of the community calling it out from within. What's that been like in the beauty world? Because it's something that I've seen from moderating other panels. There seems to be this real partnership and collectiveness of the beauty industry. Do you think that is one of the reasons why there are quite a lot of B Corps in the cosmetics and beauty world? And how has that collaboration, not competition approach helped you operate within planetary limits before B Corp?
Yes, I feel that, in the cosmetic industry, we are quite lucky because we are kind of friends with our competitors. I mean, especially in the CSR field, because I feel that, we know that we share the same goal. I mean, if we are the only one to be B Corp, to be sustainable, to have strong commitments and a strong roadmap, at the end of the day, just us as CLARINS, we won't manage to tackle the climate crisis and care for the people and the planet just by our own. So we know that collective is so important. So that's why we sit down all the time with our competitors to find different subjects. I can't even count the number of consortium and different task force that we are part of, and it's very important because we have so many topics to tackle, whether it's from the packaging, the people, also the ingredients, obviously, like all those subjects, and every subject has details also. Yeah. It's better because if we sit together, if we manage to share the good practices, but also to convince the people we work with, the stakeholders in every part of the business, it's how we will really make the difference. So it's our interest, but it's the collective interest to sit down together. And it's true that it's something we really want to do, and that's why when I was mentioning the domain CLARINS, we really want to share with our suppliers, for example, the good practices, and our suppliers are not only our suppliers, they work for other companies, but we share with them the good practices because we really believe that at the end of the day, we share the same goal. I mean, if there are no more nature, no more plants, no one will be able to do any products.
Yeah, I love it. And I think there's the B Corp Beauty Coalition, which now you can be a part of, which will hopefully push that even further. Okay, we have run out of time, but final 20 seconds each, actually 20 seconds each this time. What are you most excited for in the next 12 months for B Corp?
What am I most excited for? I think that what I'm most excited for is, I'm hoping everyone is paying attention to me right now. Yes? So I want every one of us to leave this session and certainly these few days understanding that we each have choice and agency. And so what I'm most excited for is for this movement to continue to grow, to grapple with these new hard standards, but to take a look and see what are the choices that I as a business leader and as a consumer and as an investor can make. So please understand the agency that you do have and the choice you have, and make choices. I would argue, again, take a look at the standards.
Definitely.
Use those as a framework.
Definitely look at the new standards. They are actually brilliant, and I'm not just saying that as a B Corp advocate. A year ago, you would have said becoming B Corp certified would have been your most exciting thing. What are you most excited for over the next 12 months?
I mean, I'm excited about so many things, but it's just that, we have still a lot to do. Because it's a never-ending, battle, and I think that I just want with my team and with all the CLARINS employees to continue in the path of having a positive impact, because that's really our goal at the end of the day, to make sure that everything we do is not only protecting or reducing our impact, but actually making a positive impact. Brilliant. So I just want to continue to do that.
I love that. So support diverse community, collaboration, not competition, and just get started with the tool that is the B Impact Assessment. Thank you both. Really, really interesting to hear from such great organizations. And I think we could chat for hours, but the train has arrived at the station and we've got to pick up some new passengers. So thank you very much. Another round of applause. Cheers. Okay, I'm fascinated by the next two speakers. They are both at the first ripple of the next generation of the green economy and are genuinely at the heart of redefining business. So please welcome to the stage Emmanuel, the Director General and Dean of EDHEC, and Tibo, the Director General of France Travail. Good to see you. How are you? Okay, hello. Final fireside session of this session. Can you please introduce yourselves and quick fire, what one thing have you been inspired by change now so far? Should we start with you, Emmanuel?
So my name is Emanuel Mate. I am the Dean of EDHEC Business School. It's a school that I joined 30 years ago, so I've seen quite a lot of students. What struck me the most here at Change Now, when you enter, I'm sure you all saw it, the balloon, the airship, Hygiene. And believe it or not, EDHEC is a shareholder of Hygiene. We have a venture fund for impact startups, and Hygiene is one of our startups. I'm very proud of that. Apart from that, I was in the US 1 month ago, and I can tell you it's really, really, really good to be in such an atmosphere, talking about sustainability, positive business, and so on and so forth. So.
And you must be pretty proud because Virginie was also a student of yours.
Yes, yeah, Virginie.
Please introduce yourself. What one thing you inspired by from Change Now so far?
Yes, I'm in charge of France Travail. So I'm not used to speak in English. I'm not used to do this, but what is very inspiring here is that there is a lot of startups and companies which are bringing future employment to the society. And so France Travail is here to help all job seekers to find all the opportunities on the job market. And here in this festival, in this place, we can find that there is a lot of opportunities that we have to bring to all the job seekers in France.
Brilliant. Without a margin, you have no mission. That is the terminology that I use a lot. And we need profit, we need growth, we need businesses to operate also within planetary limits. Business has been the problem, but can it also be the solution?
Yes, and we were just talking about that with Tibo before entering on the stage. I mean, some years ago, people who attended a business school, I mean, the main lesson was the sole goal of a company is to make profit, right? And should you go to a business school now, you probably would not recognize the program, the school. I mean, the goal of a company, of course, is to make profit, but it's also to have a positive impact on society, that's for sure. Now, the mission of the school, the mission of EDHEC, is to make sure that we put business at the service of common good. So how do we make it? I mean, we invest heavily. We have just launched a new strategic plan. We are talking about 300 million euros of investment.
Oh, wow.
And the goal is definitely to put business at the service of common good, whether it is in terms of research or in terms of educating our students who will become leaders tomorrow. So in terms of research, we have just launched a research center on net positive business. So these companies which create profits and at the same time solve humanistic problems. We have invested heavily in climate finance and not only doing research but also proposing tools to the industry. So making sure that investors take into account climate change when they invest. So we provide them with data about physical risks, transition risks. So we talk more and more about climate, and who knows, maybe one day EDHEC will be a climate school. And in terms of education, of course, we provide our students with the knowledge in order to lead the transition. And not only the knowledge, but also the mindset, being ready to transform companies, institutions.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point about mindset. 56,000 employees, over 1,000 sites. That's quite the operation. What's the organization's ultimate mission? And what services do you have to help people find jobs in the sustainability sector?
I think that France Travail has a very big responsibility to help the society and all the inhabitants to succeed in the environmental transition. First of all, we have to we are a company and we have to be an example. So we have, like all the companies here, some goals to achieve. We succeed in getting down 20% of our dioxide on the 8 last years, and within 7 years we have to down from 35% our dioxide carbon how we say impact.
Yep.
And so we have our goals, and so we have to work on purchasing, on IT, on all the aspects of our organization to be an exemplary company. The second thing is to help all the sector, and especially mobility, buildings, energy, to get the good skills for the transition, because there is a lot of new jobs, and so we have to help our 7 million people who are in France Travail to get this opportunity, to get the good skills, and to train them to this new opportunity. So it is a big challenge for us and for all the sector in all the country and in the different areas. And the last thing that I want to say is that, in fact, in France Travail, the people are in transition. They are preparing their future. And during this transition, we have to bring them all the opportunity, and with the time they have to open their eyes on the climate change goals, on the skills that they can get, so they will be change makers in their future job. So we have a very big responsibility, and we partnered with a lot of NGOs, with a lot of companies, and if you need it, we are ready to work with all the companies in the country to work on these skills and job goals.
Brilliant. And so you're doing that through training and engagement, through partnerships? Like how are you offering people the ability to understand climate change and the wider ecological transition?
You know, we have a lot of 90% of the job seekers, but all the workers, they are looking for sense in the job. And so we have to bring them some opportunity to, we have some training, 2 tons, I don't know, 2 tons workshop, some workshop on climate change, some workshop where we, that NGOs or training organization brings to our job seekers. So we are a go-to-market, a very good go-to-market to bring this knowledge to all the people which are looking for a job. The second thing is we work with companies, and if they want to recruit, they have also to have a good, the people are looking for the values of the companies, and so we help the companies to show their social values, but also their environmental values. It is very important if they want to be attractive to get some good job seekers. And maybe the last thing is to advise and to work with the companies to analyze the job change. And so we developed a lot of trainings. Last year, it is 1 million people who get trainings and who develop skills through France Travail.
Wow.
So it is a very good tool, very powerful tool, if we use it well to bring the climate change, the energetic transition issues inside our organization.
Love it. Really, really impressive. How do you monitor positive impact in your courses and make sure it's not just a tick box and almost prepare people to go into jobs and actually make a difference when it comes to sustainability?
So, I mean, each year we welcome at EDHEC 10,000 students coming
10,000,
from
wow.
100 countries. So, I mean, we have the opportunity to educate a lot of future managers. Classes, new courses about climate change, about biodiversity, about inclusion, a lot of workshops like Fresco, Fresco of the Future, Desirable Futures, and so on. A lot of workshops with companies, so very concrete workshops, sustainable textile, and so on and so forth, and putting students in very concrete situations in which they have to make a choice between profit and sustainability, and to have to make a good choice. So all in all, I mean, it's everywhere. You put sustainability everywhere. I told you about hygiene. So EDHEC has a strong entrepreneurial ecosystem. We incubate 100 startups a year. We have a specific methodology to incubate sustainable startups. That is to say, startups that from the inception will look for creating profit, but also to solve a problem, a societal problem. And we have an investment fund, a venture fund, through which we invest in responsible and sustainable startups. It's the same for international experience. We have launched the Global Impact Project. The students can spend their international experience abroad, either through an intern, either in a university partner, but also in partnership with an NGO working on a humanitarian project about food, water, education. So, I mean, we just put our students in very concrete situations in which they have really to implement and to act to implement sustainable decisions.
That's an interesting perspective. You might be putting them in a very concrete mindset and an opportunity to get a role. But as we all know, the job market at the moment is pretty tough. I can't imagine what it would be like coming out of college, coming out of university to try and find a job. What's the one thing that we're not talking about when it comes to unemployment at the moment? It's not a simple process in the current market. Maybe you can kick off.
In terms of employment, when you survey the students, which we do every year, 60% of them will tell you that when choosing their first job, sustainability will be the first criteria. So they want to find sustainability in their next position and in the first job. And of course, not all of them want to work in a green job or as a CSR, but for most of them, want to find a CSR component in the job. They can become managers, leaders, entrepreneurs, work for an institution like yours, maybe, and entrepreneurs. But all of them want to find something in relation with CSR. So we educate them in order to fulfill this expectation. For instance, if I take the example of a program we have jointly with École des Mines de Paris, an engineering school here in France, we educate people in climate finance. So it's a master in climate finance. And we educate them on both sides. So sometimes they go for very classical careers, but they know that where they will be, they will have a strong opportunity to change companies, in that case, change banks.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Setting them up to have an expectation is one thing, but ultimately, there are a number of businesses in this hall who can't recruit at the moment just because they aren't financially able to do that. Is there a gap in expectation and I want to work in CSR, but I'm not able to do it? Is that leading to a generation of people who are disappointed?
As far as I know, no, because once again, the young generation is really fond of CSR. And the good news also is that if you ask them, do you trust companies in order to change the world? 97% of them say yes. So I'm not sure they will get discouraged by, what's happening on the other side of the Atlantic. And I think it's probably the other way around. So it's just an encouragement to just do better and continue, keep on moving on sustainability. So I think we have entered a new world, and yeah, maybe for a couple of months, finding a job will be a bit more tricky. But and in the case of EDHEC, usually people find job in quite a short time. So.
Tell me, one final piece of advice. What would you give to businesses or people who are in the position to recruit? What information would you give them at this moment in time to help find the next generation of employees a role?
I don't know if there is only one advice. What I can say is that we have a lot of workshop to help what we call the befurker. You know, the people who come to us and they say, okay, we want to change. Jobs because we don't like jobs which are not good for the planet.
Yeah.
And when we work with them in a few weeks, they can consider the thing differently and doing the same jobs but in a different way. And so they can remain architects, they can remain in energetic fields and so on, but they will do it in a different way. What is good for the individuals must be good for the companies. So the companies have to think on their model, on the way they are doing the things. Everything is not full zero emission, but how you can do it at your best. And when you have authenticity, when you are doing the best, so you will match the motivation of the people. Maybe the second thing, which is very important for me, is that sometimes we think environment and ecological issues without considering social issues. And when we do this, I think that we are going in the wrong way. Because people, they have to, they take all the aspects into consideration. And so the wages, the salary and work conditions, all these aspects are very important. And you have to match the social issues and the environmental issues. And when you do this, so I think you will make companies which will be very more good economic performance and the durability. That's what we see on the companies when they choose, okay, social issues, environmental issues inside their economic model. So we see that the development is better.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, two key takeaways there: progress, not perfection, and search for that, and really recognize the just transition in this journey, not just the environmental space. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. It was absolutely fascinating to find your insight in such brilliant organizations.
Oh, just a final word, if you allow me. We are going to present this afternoon our new center of research on net positive business. So if you're interested, feel free to join. Yeah, thank
Brilliant.
you.
Well, thank you so much. And I hope everybody has a brilliant rest of your change now. Enjoy the rest of your Fridays. And thank you again. Let's get a round of applause. Brilliant. Thank you.